So I'm actually going to pick up on what's been the dominant theme tonight. I'm going to tell a story about vacations and travel as well. And that term I used earlier, klong, will figure prominently. I love vacations, but even more than the actual doing of the vacation, I love the planning of the vacation. I'm a complete itinerary nerd. I love to spend hours figuring out we're going to go here, we're going to go there, going online to see what the best deals on the flights are, figuring out, just the right hotel to stay in the right city. So a few years back, my wife Eileen was hitting a round-numbered birthday because I've been her husband for 40 years. I know not to mention what round number it was. And I asked her what she wanted to do, and she said she wanted to go to Italy. So we're going to Italy, and to make it a little more special, we invited her beloved sister Maureen, who, because of various circumstances, hasn't gotten to travel much. So it was great to bring Maureen along on it. And then we really had to make it wild. We had about 10 people who were going to be coming from different places to come together in Florence one night. So we're all coming from different parts of the world to Florence. So I planned this whole thing out, and we're going to fly into Milan. And I get on, I've got points, of course, so I'm getting all these free tickets, and I'm on with the person from the credit card company, and we nailed down the flight stuff, and I think good. And they send me the email with the information about the flights, and I never looked at it, because I'm really good at itineraries, and it was all taken care of. So it wasn't until the day before we left that I looked at the email they'd sent me and discovered that we were supposed to fly into Frankfurt, Germany, and then go on to Milan with a connecting flight. And she told me, and your flight to Milan will get there at 11:53. And I, of course, thought AM, which was good because it worked perfectly for our plans for meeting our friends. And then I looked at it and realized that apparently she figured I couldn't handle, the thing where you do 24-hour time in Europe, so it was actually 11:53 at night. So we were getting into Frankfurt at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we had about 13 hours in a city with people who didn't travel very often. So I was just appalled at myself, and I thought, oh, this is terrible. So I called up my sister-in-law and said, I'm really sorry about this. I've screwed up, but we have 13 hours in the Frankfurt airport. And God bless Maureen, she said, hey, I've never been to Europe before in my life. No, I can say I've been in Germany. Don't sweat it. So that was wonderful. And then I thought, hey, I know somebody, my friend Mike and Scott from WHYY, who some of you may know is the host of The Pulse. She was born near Frankfurt. Maybe she can help us. So Maiken, being German, gives me an itinerary of how we can do every site in Frankfurt, Germany in the 12 hours we have there. It's about 4 pages long. So we get to Frankfurt, and I have this itinerary, and I am a type A personality. Mike has given me an assignment. We are going to hit all those damn sites, whether Maureen and Eileen like it or not. So we set off from the airport. We got about 12 hours. I got about 15 things we're going to hit that Mike has told me or can't miss. And we start walking along a river in Frankfurt after we take the train in. Looks very much like the Schuylkill Banks path. You walk along a river, and I'm thinking, boy, this is very much like the Schuylkill Banks. And I turned to my wife to say, this is very much like the Schuylkill Banks. And she's not there. And I turn around and look, and Eileen, who does not like jet lag at all, has decided that we've walked far enough, and she's lain down in the grass by the river in Frankfurt and fallen dead asleep. So that's only the first problem. So we get through the hours at Frankfurt. We ended up going to the old opera house there, and we had for lunch Frankfurters, which apparently they actually do serve in Frankfurt. Then went back, got on the plane, got to Milan. The next day we meet up with one set of friends. The only thing we have to do is meet up with my son and his girlfriend who had been in London and were flying into Milan. They were flying into Milan on Ryanair. Have any of you ever heard of Ryanair? Any of you flown? So Ryanair is known for 2 things: extremely low fares and paying absolutely no attention to the takeoff and arrival times of any of their flights. So I have this thing, of course, planned down to the minute. Matt is going to arrive, and I've told him how to find the shuttle to the Milan train station. We're going to board a train at 4 o'clock for Florence. We're going to meet the rest of our party. Matt is, of course, not talking to me at all. I'm hitting him on WhatsApp constantly. He finally tells me about 3 o'clock that the Ryanair plane is 2.5 hours late. They just arrived in Milan. So that train is out. I go running in trying to buy a new ticket. We're waiting for the plane to show up. Long story short, our friends have taken off on their train. Matt arrives about 7 o'clock. There are no more trains to Florence that night. So we troop back dejectedly to our hotel and figure, well, we're going to have to just stay there another night. And they say, oh, no, wait. we can get you a driver. How much will it cost? 800 euros, which is about, at that time, about $1,000. Figure, what the heck, we got a hotel room in Florence, what's $1,000? So we each go to the ATM, max out our ATMs, 200 euros, and we wait for our driver to show up. He shows up in a very nice, like, BMW vehicle. We're thinking this is gonna be good. He gets out, he's a little old, wizened Italian man, can't be a day under 80, and we've obviously dragged him away from a meal of pasta and Chianti that he was halfway through. So he's kind of doddering, and he looks maybe a little drunk, but we take off for for Florence. And I'd asked the people at the desk, how far is it? And they said, oh, about 180. I thought they meant kilometers. Again, Americans, they were translating, it was actually miles. And they didn't tell me it's 180 miles straight up a mountain and straight down a mountain. So we're sitting in the back of this thing, and Luigi is driving, and he's a little drunk, and he's doing the head bob. He's fallen asleep on these mountain passes. We're doing hairpin turns. There are a lot of construction on this mountain pass, and there are cones, and there are barriers, and there are signs we can't read in Italian, and we keep having to, like, tap Luigi to make sure he's awake on all this. This entire trip takes about 5 hours, not the 2 or 3 I was expecting. And for the entire 5 hours, I discover later, Eileen, Maureen, my son, and his girlfriend were thinking only one thought for 5 hours: we're gonna die. We're gonna die. Why doesn't Dad say anything? Well, I was not saying anything because we had friends to meet in Florence, and I'm type A. I wanted to get there. So finally, Luigi does manage to get us into Florence. We go zipping in. He's going through all these back streets of Florence, finds us our hotel, screeches to a stop, walks to the back, throws our luggage on the street, and takes off. We never see Luigi again. I don't know if Luigi's his name. We have just always, in family lore, called him Luigi ever since. We get there, our friends are there, they're in the hotel, and they have gone and gotten the key for my son's Airbnb. So we walk over there, get him in there. It's now about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we realize we haven't eaten since noon. We're all hungry. So we go walking out through the darkened streets of Florence thinking, this is an international city, there's gotta be some place. We're on, like, the darkest, quietest corner of Florence, of the part of Florence we're in, and all of a sudden we see in a restaurant, which is completely empty and looks like it's closed, there are 2 guys in the back of the room, back of the place, drinking bottles of wine. Hand gestures, pidgin Italian, pidgin English. We established that we're hungry, they established that it's just fine, we can come in. We sit down, they proceed to bring us course after course after course, bottle of wine after bottle of wine. There's 8 people who've gone through a travel nightmare sitting in a magical street in Florence in the middle of the night with just a few street lights sort of bringing a soft glow over the group, enjoying friendship, family, and the most magical night we've ever had. So same as all the other stories you've heard. When things go wrong in travel, those are the stories you remember. And sometimes you have to go through a clong and a face plant to remember something, to have an experience you'll remember all your life long. So that's my story.